Hello again, I am Blunty, and this is the Panasonic Leica DG Lumix 15mm f1.7. It is a lens I primarily purchased for use on the G7 I now use as my webcam for when I'm streaming. Side note on that, as some of the photo nerd viewers of this video may not be the same folks who watch my gamer nerd type content who would have seen my original videos on this product, but Elgato have a superb little product called the Cam Link, which takes HDMI out from your camera and presents it to your Windows PC or Mac as a standard USB webcam. It needs no special software, no drivers at all, it's completely plug and play, and it works awesome. On the G7, now doing webcam duties for my streams, I was using a basic little 14-42 Olympus kit lens, which I've had for God knows how many years, which was adequate. But I wanted a faster lens so I could work with lower lighting, which I find far more comfortable, especially when game streaming. My deeply loved Olympus 12mm lens was a bit too wide for the purpose, and the 20mm Panasonic I have was just too long. For the framing I like for this job, I wanted something with a focal length somewhere between 14 and 17mm ideally. And after some brief research, I snapped up the Lumix 15mm f1.7 on Amazon, and it's been fantastic for the job I got it for. It is exactly what I wanted for that webcam duty, but while I originally intended it to live permanently on my webcam setup, I of course took it out into the world for some more multi-purpose testing. And it has now come with me on several shoots. I've always enjoyed shooting wider more than telephoto, and the 15mm here on Micro Four Thirds gives you a full frame equivalent field of view of a 30mm lens, balancing somewhere between the timeless classic wide focal lengths of 28mm and 35mm. And it turns out I really enjoy this little sweet spot. The lens itself on a hardware level is compact and tidy. It would be especially at home on the compact Micro Four Third bodies, and I was shooting it on my GH5. It is very well built, as you'd hope for any lens carrying the Leica branding. I mean, it is a premium thing, isn't it? It's a very dense feeling, largely metal construction, which leaves you with the impression that the lens will be with you for many, many, many years to come of flawless service. There's a switch on the side for going between autofocus and manual focus, a very pleasantly smooth manual focus ring, fly-by-wire, and an aperture ring. And here lies the only real complaint I have with this lens. The aperture ring is a bit too loose for my tastes. It's not clickless, so it's not very useful for using during video. You should stay instead with the camera's own electronic control of aperture. But the ring is a bit too easy to accidentally knock from the auto setting for that purpose. It's not a deal breaker, and it did only happen a couple of times while I was shooting, but it did require some adjustment and some amount of constant conscious awareness of the ring, so I didn't accidentally move it from the auto setting, so the camera could take control. And although it does not come with one, there is mounting for a lens hood, usually hidden by a cosmetic ring, which I almost immediately lost because that's what happens with those things. In use, it's one of the most pleasant and well-balanced lenses I've used. Handling is just superb, aside from the previously discussed slightly too easy to bump aperture ring. Focus is fast and reliable, even in challenging lighting, and vitally for video, it is silently focusing. Again, the lens has the Leica branding on it, which one would hope, or flatly assume, that image quality would thus be clean, sharp and uncompromised by artifacting. And that'd be a safe assumption to make. You can and will indeed be tempted to shoot this lens wide open at all times, and you'll be rewarded for it. Fringing, edge softness, chromatic aberrations, all of that, none of them live here. Things do get a little bit sharper as you stop down, as is the case with basically every lens, that's just a kind of physics at work, but the difference between wide open and something like f5.6 is so negligible your f-stop choice becomes a question of your required depth of field rather than a compromise you have to make when you want perfect sharpness. And that's just how I like it. As a walk-around prime, it's almost my perfect lens. It's great for street shooting, environmental and landscape, and it's even just wide enough to make it useful as a vlogging lens, although not quite as easy to work with for this purpose as a 12mm lens. This kind of sweet spot focal length between 28mm and 35mm, in full frame terms, really works for me. The compact size and robust build quality encourage you to take it in your kit every time you go out and shoot. The image quality is uncompromised and lets you pull the fullest quality from your camera, and the nippiness of the f1.7 lets you work usefully in any lighting. There are only two things I would personally change. One is tightening up at the aperture ring, I've said that a couple of times. The other is weather sealing, because it's not weather sealed. And weather sealing just gives you that touch of extra flexibility in shooting options, and a little bit extra bravery when it comes to shooting in damp conditions. Now, I know it's been a while around these here parts since I've done a proper photography-focused video, and I know a lot of you have been missing them. Frankly, I got a bit bored with it for a while, but this lens has helped reignite some passion for me around the subject. It immediately became my new go-to lens for photo walks and joy shooting, and that's something I've fallen out of the habit of doing. Didn't even mean to, just kind of happened. Now, of course, new gear isn't always the solution to slumps, but sometimes a new tool or toy is all it takes to really stoke those embers. And if what you're after is a really superb, fast, wide prime for Micro Four Thirds, this one comes highly recommended. And for a lens I just got because I wanted something better than a kit lens to use as my webcam, well, what a glorious surprise to find a don't leave home without it lens. Thanks for watching, I am Blunty, and I'll catch you next time.